Welcome back to We Read a Comic. We did read a comic. I'm here with Benny and Yiding. What's happening, guys? Welcome to the podcast again. So excited. I love when I have both of you on. It's super cool. So I love doing like I do you call it a round table if it's only three people? I don't know, but I like the the multiple
triangle table.
Sure, there you go. Stoked to have you guys on.
Doing pretty good. Glad to be back to have another chat about something that I probably wouldn't have read if I wasn't prompted.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, happy to be here, as always.
Yes, happy to have you both. This is like one of those ones too. Like, are either of you big Archie fans or Archie horror fans or anything like that?
I wouldn't say I'm a big fan, but I have read the first volume of Afterlife with Archie.
Yeah,
and I think just generally being a comic book fan, you pick up a lot about Archie just through like osmosis, through cultural osmosis.
yeah.
I actually read that much. I've read a bit here and there, but I feel like I know a lot more than I should just from reading that small amount I read, just because people talk about it. So you hear about the characters and you hear about the world.
Yeah, something that's been around for so long, you're gonna get some knowledge through osmosis. I grew up with the original books of Archie and stuff, with just the
little stories. Digest, or
the digest copies, and nice. I loved them as a kid. And this is a very different type of story from the relaxed era of it, and that's something I want to get into a bit later, just the kind of tone shift that Archie has seen as a whole media. But I'm excited to dig into Judgment Day, the book we're going to be covering today.
Yeah, me too. It's pretty crazy. Archie is one of those things too where like you were saying, Yiding, it's not like that it has like a big impact on you. You're not like out collecting every Archie book or anything, but it's like in the zeitgeist enough to where even if you don't know like every single detail about Archie book, we all know, Archie is like most of the time like a high school kid or, like late teens or something like that. And he's like interested in these two girls, or rather, I don't know, these two girls are interested in him, whatever. We got the Betty and Veronica thing going on. We got his best friend Jughead, and then we have like a surrounding cast of characters, and of course they're in Riverdale, and then we all know, some of the adjacent characters, Josie and the Pussycats and Sabrina the Teenage Witch and stuff like that all came out of the Archie world. So it's like, it's stuff that even if you're not really reading the comics or anything, like it's all just like kind of there available for you if you're into like any type of, I don't know, fandom culture or whatever, it exists. So, and then of course we have the show. Is it a CW show? Is that what Archie's on?
Yes.
Or Riverdale, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Riverdale is also a bit different. I think the best thing that I can say to sum up that show, which I haven't really watched, there is at one point Archie fights a bear in the woods barehanded after escaping prison.
Oh wow, that's that. I haven't watched much of it. I don't know if either of you have. Like I've seen a few episodes here and there, but I didn't mind it. I actually really like Pretty Little Liars, and it had like that kind of vibe to it. So
I tried it out, but it wasn't really my thing.
I've never seen it, but from what I've heard, it's actually like it's gotten way wilder than what you just described, Benny. Because I hear people describing the latest seasons, and you talk about things like Archie getting superpowers, or
wow,
back to the dead, or I don't remember exactly, but I remember being very surprised.
I think that's one of the really cool things about Archie and Archie comics in general is, especially, like more recent Archie stuff. Of course, Archie, being around for such a long time and being what it was, like this kind of like young reader friendly thing and whatever, people didn't put much stock into it. And then something came out, and I think it was, I don't know which one came first. If it was Archie versus Predator or if it's Archie versus Punisher, but one of those books came out, I think in the late 90s or very early 2000s. And that kind of seemed to like flip everything on its head. Like at that point, you were kind of starting to see these weird off the wall things with Archie, like these weird kind of team ups and juxtaposed things that didn't necessarily go with like the whole Riverdale gang or whatever, and then of course we get into the Archie horror stuff that's very recent. The oh God, what's the name of the Archie horror series? You just said it a second ago, Benny. I forgot the name.
Afterlife.
Archie
Afterlife.
Afterlife. Yeah.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, sorry, I've read it. I have graphic novels. I've got the single issues, but I can't remember the name. Typical me. But yeah, Afterlife with Archie, really really cool stuff. And I think that kind of like really pushed it along because it's Archie and it's campy and it's stupid or whatever. But that was actually like a pretty good like horror book, just on its own. And then that's kind of where they pulled inspiration for the Sabrina television show on Netflix. So, was the Archie horror stuff from there, and then the Sabrina stuff, and then of course Madam Satan and all of that. But yeah, just some wacky stuff that they're doing with Archie and Archie horror lately. So
Yeah, when I was reading this book, I remember thinking, it's kind of interesting how Archie as horror is now sort of its own subgenre. It's, I mean, it's no longer a specific subversion of Archie. It's just another flavor of Archie that exists out in the world because there's so much of it there. There's Afterlife with Archie. There's everything that's come in between.
Yep.
A comic book about Veronica as a vampire and Jughead as a zombie and all this stuff. It's its own. It's now its own distinct thread of Archie. It's just one existing flavor of Archie alongside the more traditional, and that's kind of interesting how how it's become that.
I like that description of flavor, and it's one that blends very well into the Archie mythos. It's always been kind of this relaxed, cutesy stories in Riverdale between some teens, but it's really fun to sometimes just flip that all on its head, and I think horror is most effective when it's in an uncomfortable space, when it's unexpected.
Yep. Yeah, completely agreed. And this is cool because again, like a lot of these lately, I will say, have been one shots. Not traditionally, of course. The Jughead, the Hunger series, the Vampironica series, the Afterlife, and all of that. Those were at least mini series or something, if not ongoing. But lately, Archie has been putting out these horror one shots. I remember in an episode, Bob and I covered Archie Final Girl, I think was the name of it, something like that. Or sorry, it was Betty the Final Girl, and it was a one shot, and it was essentially like 4 stories that took place inside of this one shot, and it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was like all over the place. It was very like hard to read. It was a little weird, and like we didn't understand the point of it, other than, all right, they're trying to do like the final girl thing. Like in each one, she's like, surviving like a serial killer or fighting them or whatever. But babysitting, all of that. This is like a little more focused, even though this is pretty chaotic too. But compared to that book, this one's a lot more focused. I want to go ahead and get into it. I don't know if we should read a synopsis or anything like that, or kind of just talk about it. I do have the book in front of me, unless one of you has a synopsis in front of you if one of you wants to read it. But I think that might be a good starting point.
Yeah, go ahead and take it. I don't got anything.
Okay, yeah. So your fate is in his hands. In a world overrun with demons, Archie Andrews is on a quest to cleanse Riverdale of all wicked kind. Harnessing the destructive power of a captive friend, he will have to destroy corrupted and possessed versions of the people closest to him, questioning his own morality and forced to make difficult sacrifices. Are Archie's efforts truly good or the work of pure evil? Transverse the most horrifying version of Riverdale yet in this first premium Archie event. And that is one thing that I do want to talk about before we get into the weeds here. What this is advertised as a premium Archie event. I looked it up a couple of different places. Of course, Archie's site says that, and then League of Comic Geeks says that. What the hell do you guys think this is referring to? It's a premium event.
I think that might just be a bit of, I don't want to say a cash grab title, but it feels kind of inflated. Like it's something they want to push it a bit more, and I'm fine with them slapping on another title with that. If it has any deeper meaning to it, I don't really know, but it looks like it's gonna be their standout series for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder if the physical comic, because I'm reading this on Hoopla, it makes me wonder if the physical comic is perhaps like maybe the paper quality is better or
I mean,
paper stock.
I feel like this is like the same as Betty Final Girl. It's like a nice cardstock cover, nice matte finish cardstock cover, and then just regular pages there. But yeah, I'm not too sure. It's confusing in a way. I mean, I don't mind it. I just did want to talk about that for a sec because I thought it was interesting. But like you, Benny, I mean, whatever they got to do to sell the book, I'm fine with. It doesn't matter to me. But it's kind of like what's going on at Marvel right now, especially with the Blood Hunt event. Marvel's doing like the red band polybagged versions of the book, and at least that can be explained. You're like, okay, well, traditional versus the polybag is you're getting additional pages with really gory stuff, and it's more geared towards adults and all of that. So it's like easily explainable, other than just saying something like red band edition. Like what the hell does that mean? So yeah, I'd be interested to know like what makes this premium versus non-premium, but whatever, like you said, whatever they got to do to do their thing is fine by me. I just was interested in that. Getting into the book, though, man, I don't know if how you guys want to do this conversation. This one's very interesting. The way this book is written is very interesting because it's almost like every other page is like a prologue or another chapter or something. And I'm like, okay, we didn't get much before that happened, but I don't know if one of you wants to set the scene, kind of like talk about how this thing starts.
Sure. If you don't mind, I'll set the scene.
Yeah, please.
It cuts to Archie in a room, and a bloody lettering of prologue is written against the wall as Archie stares out against just a pile of gore as he realizes something ain't right in Riverdale. We don't really get much explanation to what is going on, but there are demons invading the town. It says that mankind flew too close to the sun. Just kind of your general humanity hubris unleashed a terrible evil, I think is what they're getting at here. And I don't think the reasoning is going to be too important to the story, but sure. Archie has to witness some horror in chapter 1. Yiding, if you want to start in on chapter 2.
Well, before we get into that, I want to talk about a bit about chapter 1 because I feel it's doing the whole all-star Superman thing, whereas right off the bat, it just gets the setup completely out of the way as quickly as possible.
Oh yeah.
Because it kind of understands, we all understand this kind of setup. We all know how horror stories work. We don't need to see we don't need a scene or a setup for the demons getting unleashed. We can just get that in a single double page spread explaining, we can fill in the backstory ourselves. We look at the picture and we get the idea that the nerdy friend, I'm forgetting his name at the moment, Dilbert, is that his name? That's not right. Something like that. What's that character's name? The Archie's super smart friend.
The one with the glasses there and the
blue vest. He's a classic Archie character.
Right, I know. Right. Yeah, I don't know his name. He looks like 1960s Peter Parker from here, but yeah.
he does, yeah.
It's not Dilbert, but something similar to Dilbert. But anyway, yeah, you look at that, you get the idea. He somehow he performed some kind of experiment that unleashed hell on Earth, and we're good to go. We don't need any elaboration. We understand that.
Yeah. I like that too, and like I want to say something about this spread also because it's super interesting, and like Megan Hutchinson is an interesting artist. She's somebody like I'm a little familiar with because of the approach, and she's done some other stuff. And for a while, she was married to Donny Cates, and I think just pretty recently, in the last like year or two, they got divorced. But she started working with him a lot, of course, because she's an artist and he's a writer. But it's like I like her art a lot because I feel like it's a little underdeveloped and it's a little weird. It's a little like indie comic vibe, but it's still really good. Like I like it. And I'm wondering, in this bottom corner here, I mean, this just looks like her. Like, is that an Archie character? Because that just looks like Megan Hutchinson. Like, I'm wondering, other than Megan Hutchinson has like, full sleeves, so that character doesn't have any tattoos, but like the face, the hair, everything looks the same.
I would definitely add myself into a comic
Right?
only if I was getting like viciously killed or the joke was on me. I would have to
Yes.
be the butt of the joke in some way.
Yeah, I think that's cool. And then there's cool stuff in here. There's like giant insects, and I really love the bottom corner of the next page. It's got these like cartoony looking owls. I'm not sure what they're doing, and they're kind of like using their wings as arms to pull down on people and stuff. So it's a really cool double page spread. I really like it a lot. I think it looks great.
Yeah, the double spread is really great. There's just a lot of teeth, some flaming skulls, and my favorite bit is the middle of the page. There's a green monster, and in the green monster's mouth, there's just a tiny smiley face, and I love that.
Yeah,
oh wow,
so
I didn't even notice that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, you really could look at it for like a good long time and discover something new, every moment or whatever. So just a lot packed into that. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, these are really creative designs, which I really appreciate. And it's always nice when, because demons can look like anything.
Yep.
They don't have to look like your conventional demons that you see in a lot of other fiction. The imagination is the limit. So it's always nice when artists really take advantage of that and really just go to town with these very creative, out of this world designs.
Yeah, demons are just such a great way to have physical manifestations of whatever trouble your characters are fighting against. In this occasion, it's quite literal demons, so you just get weird and twisty with a lot of the designs, and yeah, Hutchinson really takes it to the next level with some of them.
Yeah, I'm really taking it. It's almost the last time we were on Benny, or maybe not the last time, but we talked about oh god, now I can't think of the name of the one shot, but we talked about a book.
Yes,
I'll come back to it. I can't remember the name
or
off the top of my
something.
head, but yeah, it was very very interesting, and it had like I don't know, almost like artistic vibes that kind of remind me of that spread there. But yeah, not important. I just wanted to point that out. But moving back to the book again, like getting, if you wanted, I didn't want to cut you off there. If you wanted to like go into chapter 2, or if you want me to, or whatever.
Sure. In chapter 2, we get the introduction of this book's version of the Blossom twins. And they apparently have been, so Archie runs into them. He runs into them at the beginning of chapter 2, and it turns out they've already been corrupted by the infernal forces. So right before his eyes, they transform into another great monster design, where they're sort of a conjoined demon that has two, like together, they form some sort of conjoined demon whose ribs are exposed and who's basically, I mean, I don't have words to describe it at the moment. It is,
Right.
If you've ever seen like the movie The Thing, it's very reminiscent of that first monster they find, where it's two conjoined beings. But yeah, the flesh is twisted together with exposed ribs, and I'd say that is the standout design for this issue, honestly.
Oh yeah, it's nice. It looks great. And all of this looks great. Just going into this chapter, or these couple of pages here, when we get the close-ups on Cheryl and then on Archie and everything, like, I mean, everybody's looking really good. This is some really good art. I really like it. And like I was saying, I feel like it's got this indie quality to it. It's just really good. Like the colors pop. Like it looks awesome. All of this together looks really good. From there, after Archie's running away from the demon, he then runs into Madame Satan, of course, and he is, she's kind of like, okay, I'm going to show you how we defeat this demon. And she uses this crazy infernal power to, I don't know, back the demon or demons. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a singular demon or I think so. But and then we go into chapter 3, and then there in chapter 3, it's like you start to kind of piece together what's going on in the book a little bit more. Again, we're not getting exposition. It's not telling us what happened before, but what's happening now is like this is kind of Archie's destiny that he's going to be fighting these demons, and he's going to be intertwined with this other demon. I don't know. It's again like they don't explain too much, but you don't really need it. It's just Archie's going to be binded with this demon, Alistair, and we're good to go from there.
It's interesting that they're not using Sabrina in this role.
Very interesting. I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
That would be the go-to choice. That would be the most obvious choice. I mean, does anyone know if Madam Satan's actually... I know she's an old Archie comics character, but does anyone know if she's actually appeared much in the recent Archie horror stuff?
Yeah,
I think she was.
She's had a few like one-shots. Yeah, she's had a few one-shots. I want to say, and this isn't comic book, specific, but didn't they do like a standalone episode or movie or something in the Sabrina the Teenage Witch canon, like the Netflix canon of?
Yeah, she was in that.
Yeah, I thought they did something specific with her there, but yeah, you're right. This is like primed for Sabrina. Like Sabrina should definitely be here, casting spells, doing whatever she can, fighting off demons, fighting alongside demons, whatever it is. But she's not. We just get Madam Satan and we get Archie. I love this next full page spread because it's awesome. It's like, I don't know, it's reminding me of like scenes from like Dante's Inferno or something. Like it's super cool. And we just have Archie getting like, eaten alive by this demon, spit back out and eaten again. And then Madam Satan like over there, like, I don't know if she's like in ecstasy or laughing off to the side, or I just really like it. This is like really good. And then like it kind of tears away in the bottom portion of it. And it's like we get this demon zombie Archie like kind of smiling with all these hands raised up from what I'm assuming is the grave with the moon behind him. Such a cool little scene. I really like that a lot.
There's a bit of a Hieronymus Bosch look to it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of like coming out of mouths or being eaten and parrot type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this isn't just happening to Archie for shits and giggles. Madam Satan is doing this by by binding a demon, Alistair, with Archie's soul, because she says this is a way that Archie will be able to protect himself, to have some power so he can make his way in a now demon-infested Riverdale.
And it's cool, and that's where again like it starts to make sense, because up until that point you don't really know what's going on other than the obvious. It's demons unleashed everywhere and we got to fight demons, but it's like, okay, this is the point of this story. Like here's what we're gonna see. It's not just Archie like out there with a bow and arrow like shooting demons. Like you're not going to be able to do that in this world. Like, if you come across a demon, you're basically dead. So he's going to be protected by binding with this demon. And then moving on to chapter 4, we just kind of got Archie waking up after that. And then we see, I guess, the physical embodiment of the Archie Alistair hybrid. I'm not sure. One of you tell me how I'm supposed to take this character.
I'm just seeing this as Archie or Alistair lurking around in Archie's head, and this is just the form that he's choosing to give himself, which is a very fancy looking Archie with slicked back hair, black suit.
He's even got some. I don't know if you noticed it there, but he's got like a neck tattoo and some tattoos on his hands and stuff. He's got like a skull on one of his hands. So he's a more dangerous, sinister Archie. Looks like I don't know. he's a cool Archie, but
His idolized self, yeah.
yeah. And I'm loving it too because not to go like too much into every little detail here, but Archie's up at the kitchen table, and the demon's there with him, and they just have stacks and stacks of pancakes with melted butter and syrup and bacon and eggs and toast and waffles and milk, and like it's just a loaded up table. So I don't know who created this feast here. I'm imagining the demon created it for Archie. He's like, all right, been through a rough night, I'm gonna get you fed. Like, we're gonna go out there.
Kind of like the symbiote puppeting Peter Parker around every now and again. He's just doing it in his sleep.
Yes, but I dig that a lot. Somebody take us over to chapter 5. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Yiding.
That's interesting because I guess that implies this demon is actually has a physical form or has a physical presence. It's not just in Archie's head, because if it can cook breakfast, I should say, then I suppose it actually has some physical presence. It can actually operate in the physical world, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah,
or maybe I'm reading too much into it.
No, I mean, I think that there's a lot open here, like in this book, and that's something I wanted to say of it too. A lot of times, like, we want like a very straightforward story where we can't poke holes in it and we can't, do all this and everything. I think this leaves a lot open to your own interpretation. You're not filling in every like single little gap and stuff, but it is like a story that moves along, and you can just kind of fill some stuff in on your own. I think that's kind of what I got out of it.
Because later in the book, it seems he can't do anything in the world because he just all he does is pester Archie to take action as if he can't on his own.
Yeah.
But here he can obviously cook breakfast, unless the breakfast is just in Archie's head in some sort of spiritual sense.
True.
I'm guessing it's like it's a classical possession story where sometimes a demon can wrangle a bit of control whenever Archie's feeling weak. I do really like these possession type stories. We've covered them before on the podcast where sometimes you just have a demon in your head.
yeah, and that's all you need to know. There's a demon in there. Let's go over to chapter 5. Somebody want to start us on that?
I can go. Okay, so chapter 5, we start off at the diner where Jughead and Reggie are eating, and Reggie turns into another monster. So I guess the pattern here is all the these somewhat immoral characters or somewhat negative characters in the franchise are the ones who get turned into monsters. The troublemakers, so to speak. And Reggie as a monster almost eats Jughead, except Archie shows up to save him with a baseball bat. And with the bat, he beats up the Reggie monster, and he's about to kill it, except Jughead convinces him not to, out of compassion, which allows the demon to escape. And that causes the demonic Archie to want to kill Jughead for letting the demon escape. And he almost convinces Archie to do so, except at the last minute, Archie finds his humanity, and he stopped himself at the last second.
Yeah, and this is cool because this demon is much different from the Cheryl Jason hybrid demon that we saw before. This one is essentially just like a huge gigantic mouth. Basically, like all we're seeing is teeth everywhere. It's really big. It's just teeth. It's crazy. One thing that I did notice that I forgot to point out earlier was whenever we first get Archie talking to Cheryl, you notice that Archie has this Letterman jacket on, his Riverdale Letterman jacket, but the R is X'd out. And then, it's more prominent here in this panel. So that's what reminded me of it. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. But I'm wondering what that's about. I mean, maybe just, like a little artistic choice by Megan, since this is a, demon infested world. But like, there's got to be some kind of reasoning to cross out the R for Riverdale there. Just something.
Maybe like no more Riverdale or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But this is a cool chapter. Like you said, Yiding, Archie is, and we don't know if it's the demon, we don't know if it's, Archie or what, but, he's pissed now. You let it escape. And of course, at the very least, the demon's egging that on. Has out a serpent tongue and everything for Archie, and he's smiling when Archie's about to bash Jughead over the head with the bat, and then of course he doesn't. He stops, and that's kind of where the book or this chapter of the book ends. So pretty crazy chapter.
And you pointed out something that I thought was really interesting, that I didn't actually catch on, where it seems that the characters we're seeing transform first are the ones who were already kind of troublemakers in the original comics, where they already maybe had a sliver of corruption inside them, and Archie might have some of that sliver inside himself as well.
Yeah.
But what I'm really curious about is maybe the most well-known troublemaker, Veronica. I really want to see what she's going to be like.
That's an interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like these demons are manifesting their own sins or their own flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it even mentions at some point that, this Reggie creature is, it represents his resentment, his covetous nature, his gross iniquity. So these are sort of metaphorical monsters in a sense. And if Veronica does turn out to be one, it will be very interesting to see like how that manifests.
And it was interesting looking back at the other design as well, because those, like the Cherry Twins, are very often kind of weirdly involved to a concerning degree in some of the Archie media, and they're always just little close together, and they literally intertwine in their demon form.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting that you guys point that out, because notice the absence of characters in this book, and of course we get, I think it's supposed to be a 3-issue run, so we got 2 more issues to go. But yeah, we don't have the big 2. We don't have Betty and Veronica in this. We don't have Sabrina in this yet. We don't have some of those side characters, Kevin Keller, Josie and the Pussycats. At least I don't think we had Kevin. He could have been one of those like demons in that first spread. But exactly. There's some big characters missing. So I wonder if that's intentional. I wonder if they're just kind of left out of the story altogether. It'd be interesting to see how or why they're not here in this first issue.
That does kind of lead me to one of my kind of only concerns for the book, where it feels somewhat that there's a little too much story for the amount of pages. Like, I would, reading at this pace, I would be fine if something like this had been stretched into maybe 5 or 6 issues, if some scenes had been given some more time to breathe.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, those chapters are very, very short. I think each one of us taking time to explain those chapters, like we're taking more time than is on the page there. They happen very quick. I think at the most, they're like 5 pages or something for some of them, and some of them only 2 or whatever. But it's very interesting the way this is broken up, and I think that that's something that we had talked about whenever we covered the Betty the Final Girl book. Was you have this small amount of page count to work with. Sorry, this small page count to work with. I don't know what words I'm saying, but you understand what I mean. And you break it up into like a story that has like essentially 4 chapters in it, and then a story that's running through all of those 4 chapters to make them work together. And I'm like, this needed to be 4 issues then. Like put the story that goes through in each issue, and then have them all tie in or whatever, but focus on one thing, because it's so quick. And even something like this will show my age here because you guys are much younger than me, but like some of those anthology shows I would watch as like a kid, like Are You Afraid of the Dark or something like that. Well, at least they would dedicate an entire episode to that thing. You never saw like a group of kids sitting around a campfire in 30 minutes and each one of them telling a story. It's hard to cram all that into 30 minutes or 22 minutes or 24 pages or whatever, like the case is here. So yeah, really, really interesting. But I think this is just like the Archie hallmark at this point.
I mean, I agree that it does rush it does hurry through the story quite quickly,
Mm-hmm.
which makes me wonder what's in store in the next couple issues. That it felt such an urgent need to get to this point already. I mean,
Yes.
sounds like a lot of big stuff's going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do really want to see where it pans out, and see. We talked earlier that this book is missing a lot of the heavy hitter characters, and I really want to see their what they're up to in this demonic Riverdale.
Yes. I think that that'll be one of the most interesting things, and I'm hoping that that's not left on the table. I'm hoping that they're not like, this is just centered around these characters and that's it, and we'll. I mean, it doesn't seem like it. I don't anticipate that that's is what will happen, but hopefully not. All in all, though, I mean, I think this is a pretty cool book. It's pretty fun, just mindless fun to kind of read, to check out. I think the art in it is gorgeous. I wasn't too sure going in. Like I said, I've read The Approach. I'm familiar-ish with Megan's art, but I think this kind of elevated it to a certain level where I'm just like, okay, I really like this art a lot. And I think that Megan working alongside this colorist is really good. And the colorist is Matt Herms, not somebody I had heard of before, but I really, really like his colors alongside Megan's art. What did you guys think about that part of it, the art aspect of the book?
Yeah, Matt Herms. I think he drew a lot of attention with the way he was able to use his coloring. There was just really great balancing between the Hellfire oranges and Archie's red hair and the deep mysterious purples.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were a really good matchup together.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So what covers did you guys grab of this book? I know Yiding, you said you're reading it digitally, but I picked up a physical copy. Benny, it looked like you had one too.
Yeah, just the regular
A cover
edition.
Okay.
With kind of Two-Face-esque.
Yeah, and I like that cover a lot. It's really cool. That's a really nice cover. I did pick up the Francisco Francavilla cover because I love his art. I'm sorry, and Benny, yours is Megan Hutchinson cover, so she did the cover on that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the Francisco Francavilla art, so I really like that a lot. Did you guys happen to see the Jay Lee? And I know you can see it inside the book as well, but you can see some of the alternate covers there. Man, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about that Jay Lee cover. A lot of people really like that a lot. The one where I guess Archie's like facing a mirror and there's some beheaded figures next to him and stuff in this really desolate, I don't know, wastelandy looking area.
Yes, there's a small of it in the back. They only had the regular edition in here, but I was really happy with it. There's a lot in this book that there's a lot that the physical book I really like. It has there's an interview at the very end with the creator, and there's even a playlist on Spotify you can listen to.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I really like that. Would one of you care to, like, I don't know, if not, I'll totally do it, but one of you want to read those off to the people listening? Because I think that that's so cool.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, please.
You want me to read all of them? Because that's quite a long list.
You don't have to. We could go back and forth.
No, I'm good. Okay. So, Am I a Demon by Danzig. Funeralopolis by Electric.
I'm glad you had that one because I wouldn't have been able to.
I Am of Death, Hell Has Arrived by Skeleton Witch. Yesterday's Wound is Today's Scar by Scarlet. Death is This Communion by High on Fire. Destroy 2,000 Years of Culture by Atari Teenage Riot. God Was Never on Your Side by Motorhead. Duality by Slipknot. Every Man is an Enemy by Conan. And Crucifixion by Power Trip.
Yeah, I love this. This is something like kind of newer. Of course, this has been around since at the very least like death metal over at DC whenever they were putting out, soundtracks along with it. But are there any other comics like, nothing comes to mind other than that death metal stuff, but I've seen this, and when I was doing interviews and stuff, I remember asking Tyler Crook and I asked some other people and stuff. I'm like, you may not print a playlist in your comic or whatever, but is there something that you were listening to while you were writing, something that inspired you or whatever? So I like that. I mean, it seems like something a lot of people do. um Actually, I like quite a few of these bands. I love Danzig. I'm a huge Misfits and Sam Hain fan, so of course I love Danzig. Electric Wizard is like a good, like, I don't know, kind of like stoner metal band, drony metal or whatever. I'm not too familiar with Skeleton Witch or Scarlet. High on Fire, kind of the same as Electric Wizard, but a little more modern. And Atari Teenage Riot, that one kind of caught me off guard because I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but they're like really kind of, I don't know what you call this genre, but it's like techno-y metal or something. Uh, Really, really interesting stuff. I'm not sure what to call that. Motorhead, of course, like a classic metal band, and then I guess everybody's familiar with Slipknot. I, I don't know what you call their genre, like if that's just like modern metal or what, or if they fit into like a subgenre. But and I don't know who Conan or Power Trip is. So you guys listen to any of these bands? You familiar with any of this stuff? Or
I've heard of some of them. I only saw the playlist after I had finished up the book, unfortunately. Okay. But I was gonna check them out sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've listened to any of this, to be honest.
Okay, cool. Yeah, interesting. Again, I like this enough, and I like it enough that Aubrey, put this in here. I will go back one more time and read this book again and just kind of have this on and see, if it puts me in a different headspace or something. I like it. I think it's cool. I'm definitely down to do that. So do either of you like have any like type of playlist or anything? Like, do you guys like to listen to music while you're reading comics, or is that too distracting, or like have any thoughts on that?
For long running series, if it's like above 30 issues, I'll usually kind of start to put together a playlist for what I feel are just kind of mesh with general themes of the story and art.
Cool.
So usually a big series will have a new playlist.
Very cool. Huh. I like that.
Yeah, I don't listen to music much when I'm reading, just because I don't want the mood of the music to influence me. I want to get the mood of the comic. I don't want it to like interfere with each other, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it can definitely give you like a different vibe than whatever the author intended.
Mm-hmm. It almost reminds me of, again, showing my age here, but like the early days of the internet and stuff like that. I remember, a lot of people were getting high, and then they would also put on music, and then they would also put on like a visualizer on their computer or whatever, so that way they could kind of like zone out, watch this visualizer, be stoned, be like, have something else going on. I'm like, wow, there's so much happening. Like I can't. Wow. I think I'd have an aneurysm, but I do like that. I like that, some of these writers do sit down with something and they're like, hey, this kind of influenced me a little bit, or this like represents the tone of this chapter or this entire thing that I'm writing or whatever. I think that's really cool. So I respect that. I like that the playlist is in there. I think people should definitely check that out, and I'm definitely going to check it out. I don't know. I'll kind of shut up, but you guys have anything else about the book you want to say?
One minor gripe. I really, really love the art. I am not a fan of Archie's hairstyle, I gotta say. He has a weird, like, chicken wire fence fade with cross thatching in his hairstyle, and I'm just not the biggest fan of it. It's a personal thing. I see.
Look.
It's definitely a him look. It's just a completely personal preference. I can't get behind it.
So, Benny, I guess it's safe to say you will not be rocking that haircut anytime soon.
No.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, I think, all in all, to wrap up my side of it, and then maybe we'll go around. Maybe that's how we should wrap this one up. I like this. I think there was a fun book. I think it's a fun concept. While there is a lot of, it's not very focused, I guess. It's just kind of loose and all over the place in certain parts. We know enough about what's going on, and I like the respect given to the reader by the writer and artist. Where they're like, hey, you can kind of figure this out. You can tell what's going on. We don't need to like tell you every little thing. There's immediate like pages and pages of exposition in here. So I always respect when someone doesn't do that to me. On the on the podcast this week, we had covered Joe Casey's new book, Blood Squad 7. I don't know if either of you read that. And I liked it, and I really wanted to like it a lot more, but I was like, man, you're not giving me the respect of thinking I can figure this out on my own. It's so much dialogue, it's so much exposition, and like I can figure this out. I've been reading comics a long time. I don't have the highest IQ, but I swear I can like, use reasoning to like figure out what's going on and everything. But I like how this one just is like kind of like run with it, do your own thing in certain parts, and I really, really like the art. And I think how, like we discussed before, I really think the art and the color superb, like great matchup. I'd love to see them do other things. And I will check out issue number 2 of this because I want to see if the other Riverdale game comes along. And I don't know, I'll just pass it to, whichever one of you wants to pick up from there.
Shout out to Jack Morelli. He was on Letters. He had a couple of moments where they had that 50s horror style of lettering where it just is big blocky letters that trails off, and I'm a sucker for that kind of aesthetic. And I'm trying to pay more attention to letterers in general because they can enhance the dialogue very well.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
Yeah, great letterer can just make such a difference in terms of how you receive the dialogue, how you perceive it in your head. I'm very curious as to what's going to happen next, because I'm curious to see how this will distinguish itself from Afterlife of Archie.
Yeah.
Because I assume it will. I assume it's not just going to be a retread of that, because if it is, what's the point? So it's probably not just going to be survivalist horror like that was. So I wonder what direction it's going to go in.
I agree. It could go anywhere. I don't know. And I'm kind of seeing it as, and I said I'd wrap up, and I'm rambling on and on, but like, I'll cut it after this, but I kind of see it as like, I don't think they'll get much more focused. I think it'll be like kind of loose like this. That's what I'm anticipating. I mean, we only have 2 more issues to go, and I'm assuming they're going to bring in some other characters too. So I don't know. I don't know how they do this. I don't know how they end this. I think that'll be very interesting. But I think it's cool and it's fun, and it's just like a fun little read. I definitely, if you would all like horror stuff, or if you just want like a fun read or whatever, I think this is definitely good enough for that. But yeah, with that being said, I'm really happy that we all were able to take a look at this book and talk about it together. I think it was a cool conversation and a fun book for us all to talk about. I got nothing else. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And if you have anything else to say, please say it.
Go to your local comic store.
Do it. Well, then that'll wrap it up. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you guys next time.